Hey guys, this is Freddie.
And Des Dolly.
We are relaunching the Facerocker Podcast. For those of you who have followed us for a while, you may have remembered listening to them. Well, it's coming to you in video form, and we're kicking it off with the podcast that we shot with Key and Peele right after we shot the video with them, which we put up last week, Mexican Standoff. If you haven't seen that yet, check it out. It's an hour-long discussion about comedy writing. It's a really interesting thing. If you're interested in sketch and who those guys are as comedians, really recommend that you stick around and watch it. We're going to be putting up the podcast in video form, and we're testing it out. So we're putting up a little snippet, and you can see the rest of it and listen to the rest of it at RocketJump.com. But anyway, let us know what you think about it in the comments. Facerocker Podcast is brought to you by Audible.com, the world's leading provider of audiobooks. They have over 150,000 fiction, nonfiction, periodical, good and bad books in audio form, which is great because finally you can drive and read at the same time. Turns out, if you do that with a real book, you'll get pulled over. 100% pulled over. Really hard. A book I would recommend, by the way, is you should check out Masters of Doom. It is it's the telling of how id Software and John Carmack and John Romero, two legends of the gaming industry, came to be. And if you have any interest in the history of the game development world, it's an awesome, awesome read. You got something you're listening to?
Yeah, right now I'm listening to The Kid Stays in the Picture, the story of Robert Evans and his rise to power as a Hollywood legend. Yeah, so check it. It's actually narrated by Robert Evans himself, and you can download it for free on Audible.com.
Right, so if you go to audible.com/RocketJump, 30-day free trial, get some books. There's so many books that you could fit into 30 days. Anyway, check it out and stick around for our podcast with Key and Peele. Welcome, everybody, to the return of the Facerocker Podcast. We've been slightly on hiatus, but we are back again now in full force, both in audio and for those of you experiencing it on the YouTubes or our site, the video form. We are joined today by the unstoppable Key and Peele.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Thank you. Unstoppable
force.
Yeah.
We're the unstoppable. We are not. We are the irresistible, unstoppable. I don't know.
He's stoppable. I mean, around this time, he goes from the most energetic guy in the world.
It's right around now.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, I hit the wall. I hit the wall at about 3:30 every day. One time we were in a writing session. We have these writing meetings where the writers do all the scenes, and then what happens is we'll read them on Thursdays. We read the scenes out loud to each other.
Yeah.
And Jordan was giving the note one time, and he caught me like I was literally smiling. So if you're Jordan, because I'm just for the camera, you're Jordan, and I was like, yeah. And he's going, and then maybe we could do this. And he was giving me notes, and I straight up went.
He did this one. If you're listening, it's like that pleasant smile where his eyes glaze over.
The half blink.
The half blink, because not the heavy lid, but the like this, like you zone out, and he went.
Like, oh,
he went. I went, wow.
Caught.
And my brain was so tired. It was like, I can't even do anything about this right now. I can't even pretend like I'm not doing this. Jordan went, you all right, dog? You? I said, hey, I'm tired. I am tired. You see it right now a little bit. I can tell. I'm not in the twilight, but the horizon is forming, if you will.
I've had some pretty bad ones. I have a long history of embarrassing myself with sleep-related stuff.
You just fall asleep whenever.
Well, I'll fall asleep whenever.
Do you really?
I do. I've timed it. 10 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds. If that's
really?
How do you time that? When do you click the stop?
Significant other.
There's an app.
Significant other.
The funny thing is that you would call us unstoppable. We shot this video today. You were unstoppable. I can't believe how much energy you have.
Yeah,
it was impressive.
I've never, and your whole crew's on it. I mean, I've never, and we've
it's like 90 setups or something. Like that.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
we've been in this business for like 10 years or something.
Sure,
at least, but we've never seen anybody that can grind like you guys can.
Well, thank you very much.
Shoot at speed and stuff.
It was amazing, and still, when we watch your videos, they always look terrific. So I'm thinking, geez, you get all this coverage in that short amount of time is amazing. It's amazing.
Well, we do shortcuts. We do what we can, but we kind of have to because we got esteemed individuals that we're shooting with. We need to be respectful of their time.
You guys are troopers. We're just like, hey, throw your head against. You just banged your head against the wall. We're like, take your shirt off, hit the floor.
Yeah. Well, let's talk really quick about just the concept because this is basically one of these ideas that we had kicking around for a while. And I will say, by the way, when we first met, we were kicking around some of these ideas, and I will say, we've gone to a lot of meetings where it's like, oh, yo, you guys want to do a video? All right, well, we have this idea where it's like this. And so it's just like, our response is always, yeah,
okay. And in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, geez, what can we do about it? I have never in my entire life been in a room where every single thing that you guys threw out, I was like, oh my God, that's fantastic. That's the funniest idea I've ever. That's a perfect idea. Like that's beginning, middle, and end. It's all there. I'm like, oh my goodness. Never, nobody else I've ever had this experience where it's like you guys throw out ideas and they are all ideas that are good. And it's like, oh my goodness.
Wow.
That's why the show's so good. Like that's because when you guys throw out ideas, it's not like my experience up until this point, which is like, yeah, let's not do that. You know?
Well, I think really the reason our show does have the success is we're improvisers. Our writers are improvisers. Our showrunners are improvisers. Our director and crew, they're on the cover. So we're collaborators. You know what I mean? And I think the ideas that we came to you with that day were really just based on what we saw and what we thought you would like.
And they were all, and they all were great.
Yeah, we were just yes-anding your style. Yeah. And then what we shot today was so similar. I was so happy about this idea.
That's a weird one. So that's one that we had kicking around. Just the idea of like, okay, you see Mexican standoffs in action movies all the time. John Woo movies, it's like bread and butter, like Mexican standoff at some point. But then the joke of like, well, how do you keep going with it? And that's about as far as we had taken it to that, which is like, oh, when we fight, it escalates. And then it's, oh, there's a sniper. Oh, there's a UAV. And then there's a guy holding that. And then the guy's wife is kidnapped. And then it's the president or whatever, all the way just out. Heightening, yeah.
But
then Matt and the VGHS writers.
Well, you pitched like that first page, and then we were like, let's just take a break and write the sketch so that we don't look like assholes in front of these guys. And like actually have something actually written up. And all you did was up to that UAV thing, and we're like, well, let's just keep escalating it. And I mean, if you guys have watched it, it just went. I mean, we just took it as far as you could do face swapping.
It's ridiculous.
And there's just like so many gags we've all had multiple times, like that we want to do.
So Matt actually has a second ending to the.
Oh, really?
Really?
That we may even shoot, but I want to hear your guys' take on this version of it. So Matt, why don't you pitch the second ending?
The other ending was so the gun shoots you, and then it hops away, and a car comes up, and like the captain of the police force shows up, and it's like looks like that was a close call, but we should have never doubted a lieutenant of your caliber. And the gun,
a lieutenant of your caliber.
The gun turns at the officer, and he's just like, maybe one day you'll have my job. And the gun shoots at him, but it clicks, and he pulls out the magazine. He's like, but not today, you son of a bitch. And they start laughing.
And then,
which I like, but we'll see. I love them just analyzing this insane crime scene.
You could just keep going with that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
The new partner comes in.
right.
The gun's driving.
I think our first pass was like 14 pages. We just kept going. We just kept going. And we're like, we got to get this thing to be. We had to shoot
like 6 or 7 pages. Right?
Yeah, it's already 6 pages, I think, is what we shot. But I think the first draft was like 12 pages. We just like, well, let's get rid of all. We had like a gun just appearing out of nowhere like a fly. Like, whoa, what the hell was that? Like swatting it away. Like, we had all these other, but it should be pretty good.
That'd be interesting. That would be fascinating to see how. I don't know if there's like a documentary or something about this, but just how writers' rooms work, right? Like
when you said, I didn't realize. I was curious how you guys work. When you were pitching, you were saying like the writers, and then you guys kind of like read it to each other, and then you improv. Is that how it works essentially?
Well, I was kind of giving a shortcut of it for the most part, but we meet on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And in the morning we'll sit down and we'll have a pitch session, which and what happens is very often the writers will say, you go around the room and say, do you have an idea? And if they say they do, what that means is that they have an idea, but it's not necessarily fully fleshed out. So they want us to all kind of yes and the idea, and then very often the writer will go, oh, that one, that's the one, that's the road I'm going to go down when I write the sketch.
So they still kind of take a sort of authorship of it, like they kind of are.
I mean, their idea, if they had the germ of the idea, they had the embryonic sense of the idea, they're just asking you to, there'll be like 5 different paths, and they'll choose a path, and that'll be the first draft. Sometimes you'll say, hey, do you have anything today? And you might have a writer that goes, no, I got 2 things that I got them. Like, meaning that in their mind they know how they want to write it, they know what the beats are going to be, they're good. And then once they finish writing those first drafts, they come to us. Now Jordan does a lot of hands-on writing, right? Jordan will write a lot of his own sketches. Me and the other EPs, sometimes we'll sit and we'll rewrite a sketch, and then we'll say to Jordan, what do you think of this? And then sometimes, you'll be like, well, I know that the writer wanted to go in that direction. I think we're feeling comedically it works better. There's a better comedic game if we go in that direction. And then you just have an open dialogue with the writer. And then every Thursday, we sit down with a little pack, and we have what are called internal reads. So we'll read together, the sketches together, out loud, we cast them amongst ourselves. And then the other writers get to chip in. So by that time, that's usually the 3rd draft of a script. So by the time we get to shooting the draft, you say most scripts are in their 6th draft or 7th or 8th draft by the time we shoot them.
I mean, the real answer is, I think we're open to any sketch having its own creation process. So there, like Keegan says, I mean, there's some I'll just put down and it'll be done. There's going to be some that all of us are working on the entire process up until it's being shot. And then there's others that we'll assign to a writer. We'll say, I want this happen. You're kind of the best person to execute this for whatever reason. But we've got 5 different staff writers that have really specific skill sets and specific voices. So I think flexibility in the process is a big part of it.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. And I think one of the most difficult things with sketch comedy, which is what I always hear, is always like they're like, you never know until it's on its feet, right? It's like you never know until it's like it plays and then you see that final product. And how do you guys feel in terms of like that sense of being like, you know what, I think this is it, and just even at what phase can you look at the thing and be like, you know what, this is gonna kill?
I feel like that is something that we have a really good sense of. I feel very confident by the time we're shooting something that it's going to be good, and part of the reason is because we overwrite. We write over 300 sketches to ultimately whittle it down to 80 something.
Wow.
So by the time we whittle it down, it's like, oh my God, which one do we cut?
Yeah.
Do we cut?
Yeah.
Baby head or
or rubber
party.
band.
Right.
Or fart party.
Rubber band and baby head obviously got cut.
They got
one has
we
seen
did.
those.
We did fart party.
No, those don't exist. But we did do fart party.
We did fart party, and we did do fart party.
Yes.
Didn't we? Yeah.
Yes.
But
we actually did do fart party.
we did a scene called "If Names Were Farts." But I think that it's just a matter of, some of it has to do with experience. It's just, you start to catalog in your mind after performing live as an improviser or just being in a play that's a comedy or even a play that's a drama. You perform long enough, you understand the type of material and how a crowd will react to that material. The other thing is, if something is I don't laugh for my head. I'm not trying to lobby to make the piece work. If I'm laughing at something, I'm laughing because it's actually cracking me up. And there are times where we're at table reads where we're laughing and everybody's laughing uncontrollably. Well, there's something there, clearly. I have heard stories in the past of people, of executive producers on television shows who have been on set. And this is usually I'm talking like my friend told me a story about a multicam. And literally it was an EP standing by a monitor. And the show was not good, and the pilot was not good, and it did not get picked up. But my friend was on the pilot, and he said he remembered watching the EP. Like, that's just because they're trying to will it to work. Well, we write 300 scenes so we can cut scenes. You got to be able to be. This isn't. It's not popping the way we want it to pop. So you put it back over here. We'll work on it next year, or figure out what the new angle is next year, or what's the comedic engine that will make people laugh out loud.
There's also certain ingredients that go into that are part of the formula. We like to write sketches that only Keegan and I could perform for whatever reason,
Right.
whether it's like this kind of weird racial exploration, or it has this piece of physical comedy only Keegan can pull off, or it has these, it has accents that we can do. We also, we like to do scenes that the audience does part of the work of figuring out what's funny about it, instead of sort of spoon feeding everything to them. So we like to make scenes that make you think, or make you think that you're thinking, but also a really important part is it's got to be stupid too. It's got to be stupid.
It has to be stupid.
Well, I would say for me,
stupid.
like the most effective thing is like just turning it to Bruce Willis. As opposed to, it's like that's it. It's just there's something funny about that.
Something
like
funny.
you
Where did the
cannot.
idea for the valets come from?
Well, a writer brought this in. This guy Colton Dunn, who's a real
he's really
genius,
great.
real great friend.
He's terrific.
The part that you're talking about was originally a typo. It was he wrote Liam Neeson's by accident,
And he must have hit change all. He must have wrote Neeson's and hit change all by accident.
Well, I remember
How did it happen?
when we first read it, I thought it was the real thing, and then we noticed, and it wasn't Neeson's for everyone at the time.
It wasn't for everyone.
Right,
Okay.
and then I believe I said dude,
did.
this is
This
it.
is it. We should say Neeson's.
It's got to be Neeson's.
Because we were sitting and I said, "Is that wrong?" And Jordan said, "We just gotta say it," and then started making the rules for it.
And then it was our showrunner Ian Roberts who said, "Well, then Bruce Willis at the end. That's got to be Bruce Willie, right?" And so now the legacy of those guys is that they're always fans of white celebrities, and they always get their names wrong.
That's amazing.
But I think that is such a stupid sketch. And of course, they explode and whatever at the end. But I think one of the reasons that is a huge sketch for us is because it taps into something kind of universal. Everybody knows these dudes who are like, essentially black dudes that work in a service position. They could be at the TSA or they could be valets, but they're obsessed with essentially B movies, B action movies, straight. It's the whole new releases versus new arrivals.
And it's like
theory.
straight up unironic love.
Oh yeah, no, they like the
what I mean?
movies. Yeah, there's no I love it so much because of that.
There's no
cynicism.
irony. There's no hipster whatever. It's just straight up. Nope. This is legitimately.
I mean, these
something
guys
that
like
me.
Robert Downey Jr.'s. They're going to be their favorite actor.
I love that his name is Robert Downey Jr.'s and not Robert Downey's Jr.'s. Robert Downey Jr.'s because that's his last. That's the last word. Jr.'s the last part of the last name.
Yeah, absolutely.
What you just saw was a portion of the hour-long interview we had with Key and Peele after we shot the Mexican Standoff video, which, if you haven't seen, you should check out. It's right over there. Click on that. To hear the whole thing, head over to our site, RocketJump.com, or if you're like a podcast listening type, we're on Stitcher or iTunes, so subscribe to the Facerocker Podcast over there and listen to it to your heart's content. We were just trying out to see, how podcasts might work in video form with the cameras and stuff like that. So let me know what you think about that in the comments, and thanks for listening.